part of the push now is a political push, isn't it?
That's right. Well, we've been asking for a review of Madeleine's case now for a couple of years, and obviously it hasn't happened. It's 4 years now since Madeleine was taken, and there hasn't been one review done at all. As you know, there's been no police force either looking for Madeleine since July 2008. We truly believe that a review is essential really to taking us closer to Madeleine. There's an awful lot of information that came into the inquiry, and that information is in Portugal, it's in Britain, and it hasn't all been pulled together and put on one searchable database. So we see it as a kind of jigsaw where there's a lot of bits that haven't necessarily been brought together.
Just looking at the book, I mean, you really, in a sense, laid yourself bare, and I think it's quite interesting because during the days following Madeleine's disappearance, you were very restrained and very quiet, and that was obviously your way of dealing with what was going on. But you've, in a sense, you've opened up in this book, and particularly about your own relationship. And how hard was that to do?
Well, I think I am quite a private person, so it hasn't come naturally, to be honest. I think I've learned over the last 4 years, or I've developed a kind of protective layer, really. So I think I'm tougher and able to shoulder more than I was. I didn't feel I could do something that wasn't as complete and as honest as it could be, really. And I think it would be unrealistic if I didn't explain really how much the impact this has had on all aspects of our life, really.
You did say in the book that you have wondered whether we haven't already given so much of ourselves and our family to the world. So did you talk about the extent of the personal revelations in the book together before you wrote it?
We did, and it wasn't a decision we've taken lightly. We had to give it a lot of thought.
I would have edited it a lot more, though.
Would you?
No, I mean, we did, and obviously I was reading it, and some things have come out, but at the same time, Kate, as you can tell for attention to detail and the determination she does, when she says she's going to do something, she does it properly, and it is an important aspect of the devastation that abductions cause to families, and why so many relationships break down.
Yes, because of course you kept a diary from the day of Madeleine's disappearance, but presumably because you were also at different stages, you were doing different things, and you probably hadn't read everything that Kate had written.
I hadn't read any of her diaries, and I still haven't, so I've read what's in the first versions of the book. So,
but you recognise, presumably, when Kate was saying that you had a different response to the trauma at different times, and you said that too, that it was different, and sometimes you were naturally resentful that Jerry seemed to be able to carry on.
I couldn't understand really how Jerry could be at that stage and I wasn't. You just assume that everybody will respond like you, and Jerry will express his grief the same way that I was doing. And at the same time, I kind of be hard on myself really, because I was aware that I wasn't able to do as much as Jerry could as quickly, really, and I wanted to do all that for Madeleine as well. So in hindsight I look back and I can think, well, thank goodness Jerry got to that stage really and kicked the campaign off.
But for such a private person, when you write about the problems of physical intimacy in the days and weeks following, I think that's probably quite surprising for people that you have revealed that, because of course that is the Sun headline.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, it obviously has had an impact on our relationship. We're very lucky that we had such a strong relationship really to start with.
Are you in any way kind of overprotective of the twins at the moment, do you think?
Well, I mean, I hope we've got the balance right. Yeah. I think I've always been a bit of a worrier, but we try and give them freedom within reason, but there's a few things I've changed, just simple things like going to the petrol station, they'll come out the car with me if I'm filling up with something.
I'm sure we're not the only people that have changed, and just things that you wouldn't have considered a risk before. What we did, we just did not consider to be a risk.
And that has been if there's been any naysayers, it's been about that, hasn't it? I mean, and that presumably you must think all the time is something that's just part and parcel of this story.
Yeah, I mean, we have to face this all the time. Whenever we do an interview, we have to face that decision we made, and I hope we've explained why we did it, and we wouldn't have done anything to put our children at risk. But at the same time, there's a person out there's an abductor out there who's off the hook at the moment. There's no investigation to find them.
After 100 days since Madeleine's disappearance, in the book you quote from a note you wrote to her and saying that you hoped that she was with someone that loved her. So, in a way, what is the most benign story that you can think of?
I mean, no story's nice, is it? But no scenario is pleasant because she should be with us. But I guess somebody who wants a child, who either didn't have a child, who'd lost a child, and someone who really loves having Madeleine. You know, she's hard not to love, believe me. And certainly Sean and Emily, that's their take on it. You know, they kind of think that, oh, somebody loves Madeleine so much that they want her.
Seems ridiculously far-fetched, but you think, was she stolen to order? Now, to me, and people said that, I could have ridiculous, but everything about what's happened to us has been ridiculous. So where does, any scenario start to become within the norms or the bounds of reality? So it's quite difficult. But what we do know from the States and the National Centre for Missing Exploited Children is that the younger the child that's taken, the more likely they've been taken to be kept. So Madeleine's right at that kind of cusp, really, rather than the profile of a child who's taken by a sex offender.
Well, on that basis, though, you write that, and the most distressing thoughts, and you write very graphically about, wanting to tear your skin off. I mean, can you talk to me a little bit about that?
I mean, it was very graphic. What was going on in my head was hideous. Obviously, that was our biggest fear, so it was impossible for me to dismiss it. We are realistic. We know that is a possible scenario. But just the thought of someone so lovely and beautiful, our child, being subjected to something like that was enough to destroy us, and the feelings, the fear, and the images, which I say were so vivid, were very destructive. And it was, at that time, it was really difficult to try and rid them out of my brain, and very difficult to think about other scenarios, because that was your biggest fear.
Why are you so sure that Madeleine is still alive?
I think there's a really good chance she's still alive. The facts are that there's no evidence at all that she's come to any harm. That's number one. We know of many cases of other missing children who disappear for years, haven't been abducted, and have probably been written off, and then they've turned up alive. I guess I feel she's out there, and who knows, maybe every mother would feel like that. I don't know. I just have that feel in me that this isn't over, and there's certainly nothing that's telling me to stop, or to slow down. So,
is that partly to do with your faith?
I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest. My faith tells me that wherever she is, she's fine.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.